On this video, I would like to continue reading in the Hebrew and the Septuagint of Isaiah 53, and we are now at verse 7. And it is my deep conviction that this is looking at Jesus Christ on the cross and what he has accomplished. And we see this through the New Testament in a number of texts, such as Acts 8 and 1 Peter 2, and etc. So it reads, Nigas v'hu na'aneh. He was oppressed, and he humbled himself, or he was afflicted. Nigas is from the root nagas, and I'm taking it as ningas, a nifal, a pay-noon verb, a nifal perfect, third masculine singular from nagas. He was oppressed and he was afflicted. Na'aneh, again, from ana, to be afflicted, or to afflict, a nifal perfect, third masculine singular, below yiftach piv, but he did not open his mouth. Yiftach is from patach, to open, a cow imperfect, third masculine singular, to open. He did not speak back or strike back with words. Kaseh latevach yubal, as a lamb to the slaughter is brought. From yabal, a cow imperfect, third masculine singular. And then as a ewe lamb, ucherachel lifnei gozezecha nechalama. As a ewe lamb, before its shears is dumb. And gozazeha is from gazaz. It's a cow participle, a masculine plural, with the pronominal suffix, third feminine singular. So as a ewe lamb before her shears is dumb, from alam, a nifal perfect, third feminine singular. So as a ewe lamb before its shears is dumb, and then below yiftach piv is repeated, and he did not open his mouth. As we look at the Septuagint, it reads, verse 7, Kai autas diata kekai ostai uk anoige ta stoma autu. And he, because of his affliction, literally because to be afflicted, from kakao, it is the articular infinitive from kakao, the infinitive, the perfect infinitive passive, on account of literally to have been afflicted, on account of his affliction. Anoige opens not his mouth, is not opening his mouth. Anoige is your present indicative active third person singular from anoigo. As a sheep, hos prabatan epi swagain, ekse. As a sheep, as a sheep was led to the slaughter. And I'm taking this from the root ago, an aorist passive third person singular. So as a sheep was led to the slaughter, and as a lamb, kai hos amnas anation tu kerantas afanas. And as a lamb, before his shearers, or before we could say uh, the shearer from K. Ron here, the one shearing, it's a present participle genitive singular, as before the one shearing is dumb, aphonos. Thus, he opens not his mouth. Hutos uk anoigeta stoma. And so, as we read this, he, even though because of his affliction, uh, on account of his affliction, does not even open his mouth. And the Hebrew read, he was oppressed and he was afflicted. So the Hebrew, uh, the Septuagint, puts it together, the two verbs, nagas and na'aneh in Hebrew, it's put together as one in the Septuagint. But he, on account of two have been afflicted, opens not his mouth, velo yiftach piv, and the Septuagint read uk anoige tastomautu, which agrees with that, as a sheep, kasela tebahuval, as a sheep, as a lamb, as a sheep to the slaughter, he was led. And kasela tebahuval, where the Septuagint has hos brabatan epi sphagain ekthe, was led. And there's a ewe lamb, as a lamb before the shearer is dumb. And the Hebrew, the Septuagint, or the Hebrew has as a lamb before her shearers is dumb, or its shearers is dumb. And here we have as a lamb before the shearer, using the singular here, before the shearer is dumb. Um, and so, or indeed, or he does not open his mouth. And the Septuagint agrees with the Hebrew there, hutos uk anoige ta stama. So that's a brief comparison. Let me just do one more quick verse. That is verse 8. The Hebrew reads, Me'otzer umimishpat lukach, from oppression and judgment he was taken away. Lukach is a puel, perfect, third masculine singular from lakach. He was taken away. I would take this to represent the trial and the judgment, misjudgment of our Lord at the trial. He was taken away to Calvary. Ve'et doro mi yesochecha. And as to his generation, who really reasoned or became concerned. From sicha, a polel uh, imperfect, third person masculine singular from sicha. So as to his generation, who really reasoned that he was cut off, ki nigzad me'eretz chayim, that he was cut off from the land of the living. By the way, nigzad is from gazad. It's a nifal perfect third masculine singular from gazad. And I'm thinking Isaiah is clearly thinking about Leviticus, where the second goat went to a Gezerah land, a cut off land. And here we have it. There it was in the, can I say adjective here? It's the nifal perfect, that he was cut off from the land of the living, mipesha ami negalamo, uh, for the transgression or because of the transgression of my people, and the blow belonged to them, to whom the blow was due. So that's the Hebrew of verse 8. Let me just quickly read the Septuagint of verse 8 and just do a little bit of grammar and a comparison. So, looking at verse 8 in the Septuagint that I'm using, Ente tapenose he Christus autu erthe. In his humiliation, his judgment was taken away from I row, aorist indicative passive third person singular. So in his humiliation, his judgment was taken away. And who shall declare his generation? His generation, uh, tis, tain, geneon, two emphatic here, his generation, who, beagesitai, future indicative, who shall declare middle from the Egeamai, who shall declare his generation for his life. I would translate this, Hate Irata Apates Gate, because his life is being taken away from the land of the living. It could be a passive, could be a middle. It's taken away itself from Iro, from the land of the living, his life. And it was because apaton anamion, because of the iniquities of my people, because of the iniquities of my people, uh, he was led to death. Aorist indicative passive from ago, he was led unto death. And so as we look at the Hebrew again, comparing it with the Septuagint, Meotzerum in Mishpat Luka, that is, from oppression and judgment he was taken away, where the Greek reads, Ente tapenose he Christus autu erthe. That is, in his humiliation, his judgment was taken away. That is, the judgment that was due him was removed or taken away. And who shall declare tain geneanal tu tis de egesitai? Who shall declare his generation? And looking at the Hebrew, and et doro mi yesoheha, who reasoned that he was being cut off, seems to be the Hebrew, but who's going to declare his generation and be able uh, to identify it, because he's being cut off from the land of the living, and for his life is taken away from the earth, uh, where Ki Nigzar Me Eretz Hayim, his life was cut off from the earth or from the living, and the Septuagint rendered it Hate Eretai Apates Gates Hezoe Autu. His life was being taken away, or is taken away from the from the earth, and pretty much agreeing with the Hebrew Ki Nigzad Me Eretz Hayim, his life was taken away or was cut off. Is the interesting way that the Hebrew renders it, going back, I think, to Leviticus, of the second goat that being led to a Gezerah land. And then lastly, because of the iniquities of my people, Mipesha Ami Nega Lamo, to whom the blow was due. and the Greek has apaton anamion, because of the iniquities tu la umu of my people, he was led to death. Ekthe estanatan, he was led to death. Uh, where the Hebrew has mipesha amin negalamo, that is, for the transgression of my people, the blow was due to him. Where the Septuagint has, because of the lawlessness of my people, he was led unto death. So let me just stop there, doing this kind of a comparison just out of my own personal interest. Um, so, what we're looking at, I clearly believe, is the crucifixion of Jesus Christ in a very predictive moment of Yeshayahu, the book of Isaiah.